Welcome to NHA Today, where we explore the path to lasting health and fulfillment through a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Each week, we bring you real conversations with doctors, health experts, and everyday individuals who've transformed their lives through food, mindset, and community. This is NHA Today, powered by the National Health Association.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the NHA podcast. I am your guest host, Maxime Sigouin. I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, and I'm guest hosting today's episode. So today's guest is Stacey Heiny. She is a certified holistic nutritionist and lifestyle wellness mentor who's on a mission to help women reclaim their health and confidence through a true food as medicine philosophy. After earning her Food for Life instructor certification from the Physicians Committee and a plant-based nutrition credential from Cornell, Stacey founded the Herban Farmacy in 2020. So from her organic farm in Indiana, where she cultivates produce and crafts elderberry wellness remedies, to her one-on-one coaching, e-courses, and best-selling free ebooks, she's built a community around clean living, toxin-free beauty, and holistic empowerment. So today we're going to dive into her journey and all the incredible work that she does. So Stacey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Max. I'm so excited to be here. And I want to say we need to add, I am now a certified plant-based coach to the Food Revolution Network. And we have to link that below for all the people, because I believe that it was, out of all the certifications I've taken, it was one of the best for sure. And I think everybody needs to become a plant-based coach. It was
Awesome.
such a great program.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we'll get with the NHA team to add that down below. So you obviously are doing a lot in the space of plant-based eating, holistic living. What got you to step into that world? Because you have a lot of passion and drive, and usually that comes from a really unique story.
Yeah, it is said that, we can help people mostly through the pain that we've endured. And I personally used to live a standard American life. I was active growing up, a cheerleader and dancer, and but I didn't pay attention to what I ate. And then, in my later teen years, it really started to catch up with me, and I, started partying more, drinking. I smoked cigarettes at a point in time. I was medicated for ADHD, so I was on Adderall, and then I had anxiety medication, probably because of the Adderall. I could not run the mile because I had such bad asthma, and I was just really kind of like falling apart toward the end of high school, and just the whole lifestyle of eating unhealthy food and then partying and stuff like that really caught up with me. And my real rock bottom, Maxim, was when I was like just laying on the couch, like watching Jeopardy, or I don't remember what I was watching. I was binge watching TV. I had just gotten done eating like Papa John's pizza and was probably eating ice cream out of the carton. And I was just so depressed. And I just knew that there had to be, like, I was thinking to myself, like, this was really early on, I was maybe 20, thinking, is this really like what it's going to be like? Or, like there had to be something out there that would help me change. And my true change really came from mind-body connection, Pilates in particular. And I started kind of understanding what it felt like to just slow down and, instead of caffeinating my body, it just kind of like slow down and like be in my body and connect. And that was really my light bulb moment, where then I went onward into the plant-based lifestyle and found myself here today. But really, it's quite a long journey of me hitting that rock bottom to where I am today. And it is the true drive of why I am so passionate behind helping women feel comfortable in their own body, helping to empower women to rise up to their greater potential, and how to help mostly women understand that there's so much more out there for them, especially if they're able to kind of break free from the societal norms that we find ourselves in, because like I said, it was really early on where I felt like the breaking point, but most of my friends were still living up that lifestyle. They were still eating all the things from the restaurants and all of the junky stuff, really, really heavy animal products, lots of alcohol, lots of sugar. And they didn't seem to be failing like I was, but I was completely falling apart. And it was because of that I'm so passionate about helping people to just turn their lives around.
So there's a few moments in your story that I kind of want to dive deeper on.
For sure.
So it seemed like a lot of these things happen at a really young age. What do you feel made you have the awareness that things needed to change at that point versus kind of continuing on like your friends had been for a few years?
Yeah, well, there were some books that came across my radar kind of early on that I felt called to. Like, I remember when I was in college, like I was at the library and there was like this big book about natural remedies. And I didn't I started looking through it and it was talking about all of these different ailments. And, I was actually trying to figure out how to help myself focus because I couldn't focus and I didn't want to be on Adderall forever. I was on it way longer than I wanted to be. I knew it was I knew it was, really stimulating to my body. And, I just felt so like I did not feel well in my own skin at all, because of it. And I started reading about how herbs could help with your mind and your gut and your anxiety. And so I started learning a little bit more about that. And then, just kept on living my life. Like I was still young and just kind of trying to just be normal. But there were other things like documentaries that then started coming into my life and coming across my radar. And, one of the big books was Diet for New America by John Robbins. A friend of mine who was going through dietetics school at the time, she gave it to me, maybe because she saw that I was still living in like an empty shell and I was depressed and not feeling well. She gave that book to me and I was like blown away by John Robbins' story, understanding that he grew up, in the dairy industry and the ice cream industry and basically put a stop to it and changed his entire life and changed the trajectory of his family's life, because he broke free. And that to me was like, wow, like there's a whole other world out there of like natural living. And, so those two books I would say were like the big kind of changers for me, where I started to just kind of connect the dots. And then, like I said, documentaries like, Fast Food Nation with Avril Lavigne was a big one. I learned about like the animal agriculture industry and the fast food industry and where my food was actually coming from. And that was huge and eye-opening to me. And that night after I went to that, I stopped eating I stopped eating meat at least, and then got really addicted to dairy. And I was still depressed for like a year after that, because I was eating so much ice cream and cheese and stuff. And, but it was a progression, it was an unfolding for sure.
Yeah. So it seems like reading one book kind of opened the door a little bit for you to look at things from a different perspective, and then led you to another book, to a documentary, which eventually kind of brought you where you are today.
Yeah, it was a whole shift. And I'm so glad and grateful that I woke up.
Yeah. You mentioned also along the way on your story that you wanted to be less caffeinated and kind of relax more. I feel that's relevant still to this day, because a lot of people abuse caffeine and are in that nervous go energy all day long. And then they wonder why they end up getting sick at a certain point in their life. So what was that experience like for you? What was it like for you to decaffeinate yourself? Maybe not fully, but a little bit, to be able to be more relaxed.
Well, like I said, Adderall in itself was a stimulant. And then me drinking like Mountain Dew slushies on top of that was not healthy. And then, going to Starbucks and getting their frappuccinos with whatever, I didn't even know what it had in it. I was just go all the time. And I did find yoga pretty early on. I remember my first hot yoga class. It was very painful for me to do because it was slow and I was so used to like just go, go, go and like not just being still and being in my body. Now, a fun detail about that class is that I had string cheese before I went, and it was the worst idea ever. Eating cheese before a hot yoga class, never do it. You will feel so sick. It was so awful. So that was one reason why I was like, okay, cheese is not agreeing with me anymore very much. And I started doing yoga. I started doing more mind-body connection and less caffeine. I broke free from the pop kind of early on. I did change to diet soda for a while there as I was journeying toward more healthy living. But then I kind of, I went from like coffee to green tea to then, like half if I was going to be drinking coffee and just getting more tapped into my mind body connection and going outside more and just being alive instead of kind of numbing myself with the caffeine. And I always say, I really don't believe in the caffeinated in the morning and the wine at night lifestyle. That's kind of how I used to be. It was like up until the end of the day. Then I would take myself down. And it was, no wonder I didn't sleep well and my gut was a mess. And I really want to help, you can have natural energy just through lifestyle changes, which I never knew. But the caffeine thing I was very addicted to caffeine and like anything that I like would stimulate me.
Yeah, there's like this extra enhancement throughout the day, and then you have to take something or drink something to force yourself to calm down.
Yeah.
I can relate to the yoga thing, like getting back into it. You're just doing these slow movements and you kind of feel this ball of energy / anxiety building up. And you're like, I have to sprint or do something else than just this really slow controlled movement.
Yeah. I can see with your background that would be a little bit difficult for you, but
yeah, I'm a lot more relaxed now than I used to be. So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into that because I feel like a lot of people are probably like that. There's a high chance that most people that are going to be listening to this episodes are that go. I'm going to assume that they're potentially not like caregiver-esque energy, taking care of their kids or other people around them, especially when we're talking with a lot of women from my experience. What does it feel like? What did it feel like for you? And what were some kind of milestones that you've hit when you start to be able to be more in tune with yourself and to be more relaxed, like you mentioned, at mind-body connection?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So in like junior high, I definitely started having digestive issues. And I know a lot of that was caused by anxiety. And let's be real, going through junior high and high school isn't always the easiest. There's lots of social things that go on and maybe stress that's going on with, your workload and sports and keeping up with everything. And I started having major gut issues at that time, just like IBS type symptoms. And it's actually still something that I deal with today at age 40. But I find if I can get my sympathetic state going and if I can stay calm, like I'm so much better off. So there's a lot that goes into that gut mind body connection where I just started feeling when I started practicing Pilates and when I started practicing yoga, like I started feeling so much less stressed and overwhelmed and like that, just my inflammation in my gut was down. And, I don't think that everybody needs to sit there and practice like om and like breathe for, they don't, it doesn't have to be like that, but just simple, slower movements where you're like thinking about your body parts, you're thinking about where your arm is, you're thinking about how your spine is undulating on the mat and like the, position of your knees and like where everything should be during your practice. It just takes you inward and all you do is focus on you. And like, it really helps you get into that parasympathetic state is what I meant to say earlier. I'm not sure if I said sympathetic, but you want to stay in that parasympathetic state. And so many of us are walking around where our feet hit the ground in the morning and we're immediately in sympathetic state, which can it can mess with our gut, and that in turn messes with our brain and our mental health. And what I found is just taking some time to breathe and be in my body and be in the moment, like literally changed everything. And it really, it went together with eating a cleaner diet. I found that I would feel better in my workouts in, even if it was like a 20-minute Pilates DVD, I would feel so much better if I were eating healthier prior to it versus having something like super sugary or like a processed like deli sandwich or something, so it all kind of goes together. But really the mind body connection, I think, is a huge piece of wellness that people are missing out on. It's not just diet and exercise. It's like, how can you like drop in to your body and understand that like it is a vessel of life, and like it's just so crucial to nurture it. I feel like we beat ourselves up all the time. That's just how our society is. We're just really like kind of beating ourselves down a lot.
Yeah, we're our worst critic. We're definitely the harshest on ourselves compared to everyone around us. And you brought up the starting the day and everyone being kind of putting their feet on the ground and being really stressed. Talk about the habits of looking at your phone, looking at emails, or potentially waking up too close to when you have to leave your house to go to work and kind of do the things that you have to do, so you feel rushed. And I can see how, like you mentioned earlier, I think it was Papa John's and ice cream, how the next morning you'd probably feel bloated and groggy and sore.
Oh, yeah.
And you wouldn't start off in a state of peacefulness and presence. You'd probably be, again, groggy, rushed, kind of wanting to get on with the day.
Absolutely. Highly inflamed and stressed and not well. And this lifestyle of just changing my mind body state and starting to eat more whole plant food and going along this journey of getting more connected inspired me so much to want to help other women do it, because I feel the majority of America we're dealing with metabolic issues. Like it's like up to 80%, right? Up to 80% of us have damaged livers, overburdened livers, or fatty liver. And that is so linked to like being able to detox. And there's so many environmental toxins out there. And we're just being burdened like everywhere. Even if we try to clean up our lifestyle really well, or our diet really well, like there's a lot of things that are coming at us these days that we're not even aware of that are stressing our body out. So it's just like even more important to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, especially if you live in certain cities or some towns, middle America, it tends to be a little bit more challenging. That's why I make sure that I escape to the mountains at least once a month, just to get away from all that stuff.
That's amazing.
So in your transition to eating whole food plant-based, what was the moment where you're like, you know what, like I want to help other people. I want to start serving in that area. What was that little pivotal moment for you?
Well, I found that I was naturally helping my Pilates clients because I was so inspired through my own Pilates transformation that I got certified and I ended up owning a studio for about almost 6 years.
Awesome.
And I found that I was just teaching a lot of my one-on-one clients. I was telling them about like new recipes that I was making, or I would bring them like healthier, like oatmeal raisin cookies, and they were very inspired through that. And we know that, exercise isn't all of it. Like lifestyle in general and diet is like huge. Diet is like the biggest piece to having like a nice physique and feeling well. And so I found that people were so receptive to that. And also my dad kind of made me a foodie, like growing up. He is very into cooking, and I watched the Food Network, and I was always so excited to find when there was like plant-based shows. I was like, oh, I can make this, or, I can modify that lasagna to have mushrooms in it. And I just started really kind of geeking out with recipes and food and enjoying my journey of cooking from cookbooks like Alicia Silverstone's cookbook, The Kind Diet. That was maybe not my first one, like David Wolf's like Sun Food Diet Success System or something like that was like one of the first cookbooks
I haven't heard that name in a while. David Wolf.
Yeah,
it's been
huge
a while since
one,
I heard
like
that
a
name.
long time. And then Brendan Brazier, like he was like a raw triathlete.
From Vancouver.
I did this like 16 years ago. I've been eating plant-based for 16 years. It's been a total journey. But I just got, I got inspired to then get a nutrition certification and kind of add on to the education that I was getting. I was also going through college for exercise science. So just, I realized it's not just movement and exercise, but also diet. That's like huge. And people were really inspired. And I've gotten many certifications to continue on understanding nutrition. I cannot ever learn enough, like I can listen to nutrition podcasts all day. Like they light me up, and I really want to help people understand how to like not just eat plant-based, but to how to like optimize it so that it could be a lifelong thing that they adopt and enjoy.
And so you mentioned you primarily work with women in their kind of health journey. What are the typical situations that you help them address? And then we can kind of do the mistakes that most people make and how they can improve those.
Yeah, well, a majority, even though I don't market it this way, a majority of women come to me because they want to lose weight. I think that's very common.
Standard.
I know that, like as a coach yourself, a lot of people just want to lose weight. And whether it is that last 5 or 10 pounds or they have 70 pounds to lose, that is typically a main concern of theirs. However, they may also be dealing with other lifestyle factors like cardiovascular disease risk factors like diabetes or, high triglycerides or, what I really like to do is just kind of help them find an eating pattern that is going to be doable long term. Like I was just chatting with a client and she was like, so how long do I need to do this? And I was like, oh, so what we're going to do is shift our mindset right now to like, instead of looking at this as a quick fix, which it actually can be, it can be quite a quick fix. The whole food plant-based diet can really be helpful and pretty swiftly for people, for certain biomarkers and for body weight. We need to look at like, what can we do with this lifestyle that is going to be long-term? Like, how can we enjoy what we're doing? How can we find food that we enjoy that we're going to want to make forever, and to make that shift of this is not just a month or a year type of thing. Like this is actually something that you're going to want to adopt long term. And whether you are plant-based fully, or if it's even 85%, like you're likely going to improve. Even though I want everybody to just be fully plant-based, the reality of it is some people need that wiggle room. And so what I find is like, instead of putting people in this box of like, it has to be all or nothing, we want the perfectionism, we want that out, because perfection can be the enemy of good. We want to go toward really good and great, and not perfect. And then understand that we can refine along the way. So some of the things that I find people, one of the biggest things is that people are under fueling when they transition to a plant-based lifestyle. I know you know this, right?
Yeah.
It is because plant foods are lower in caloric density, a large amount of them are significantly lower in caloric density, especially if we're focusing on just the whole grains, the beans, the fruits, and the vegetables. And we're not even talking about like the nuts and seeds, which are higher in caloric density, or avocados. Like people are under eating at first, and then they'll end up binging later, or they might go back to the processed foods, which is a very normal biological response because the body just wants to survive. It's not that there's anything wrong with the person. It's just that they weren't fueling properly. So I think that one of the biggest hurdles for my clients is actually understanding that we don't actually have to fear starch. I think that like starchy foods like whole grains and beans and potatoes and sweet potatoes, like these are the complex carbohydrates that are like really crucial for energy and for calories. And especially if we're trying to keep it at like a certain fat percentage, we're not going to be loading up on tons of nuts and seeds. We're going to keep that at a lower percentage of our intake, and we need to focus a little bit more on those higher caloric density plant foods that are also low in fat. So I find that people underfuel, like they really just are eating like a salad that's very small, and it's just not like lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers and like a blob of hummus is not going to get you. It's not going to, no, like that's not a lunch, right? Like we need to add like tofu and beans or other foods of substance that are really important, so that they don't end up failing or gaining the weight back long term. That's one of the biggest things. And then also just, like I said, kind of making the mindset shift of this isn't actually a diet, like to lose weight. This is like a lifestyle pattern. And then just breaking free from that perfection trap. We can't, like we can make a lot of progress by breaking free from the perfection and understanding that like if we are getting the majority of whole plant foods, we'll likely improve our health significantly that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll chime in a little bit on the low calorie thing, because let's just say someone has to eat like 2,000 calories to kind of be in a good place as a woman for in terms of having energy and fueling her lifestyle, and they transition to whole food plant based, and you hear often like, oh, I had a salad for lunch and then had another like salad for dinner, and they're eating what, like 1,100 calories.
Yeah.
At first you're really full because of the fiber content and it's more nutrient density than they're used to. But over the course of a few weeks, the body knows that it hasn't had enough fuel. And then people start to feel weaker. They start to lose a lot of lean muscle tissue. There's, hair loss. There's a lot of things that come from under eating for an extended period of time. So we have 100% people struggle with eating more. They think they're going to put on enormous amount of fat. It's like, no, you'll feel better. You'll be stronger, and you will look a lot better. You actually lose more fat once you eat enough food.
Yeah. Yeah. Your body won't release it unless it knows it's protected. Unless it knows that it's going to get what it needs. Otherwise, it's just going to hold on to it really tight.
Yeah. That's how people end up looking skinny fat, because they just burn through. The body holds on to fat, you lose a bunch of muscle, and then people end up looking like soft and pudgy. And they're wondering why when they're eating whole food plant based, right? Thinking it'll solve everything.
Yeah. And I think that that's just, you're speaking of muscle. And I think that for me personally, coaching women over the years, I have found myself like kind of subscribing to the camp of like, if we're eating enough whole foods, we're getting all the protein that we need. I think there is, especially as I turned 40, like I just turned 40 and I'm like, okay, I need to get a little bit more laser focused on protein, just because what we have heard, and especially like 60 and above too, like there's significant evidence that we do need a little bit more protein. And so I do think also another thing that's going to help people really maintain a whole food plant-based lifestyle is leaning in more on some of the gently processed forms of protein like tofu and tempeh and soy milk. And these are things that I've definitely, I'm like, oh, you don't need those. Like you can just, you can have the beans. And I do believe like in a very well-planned whole food plant-based diet, you don't need those foods, like the more gently processed higher protein foods, or like even a plant-based protein. Like I actually used to tell people I would never tell you to eat a plant-based protein, but now here I am enjoying them, and I actually feel really good. And I think that that's something that we need to talk a little bit more about, and not shame, like making sure that people don't feel ashamed for leaning in on those foods. I think they're crucial to maintaining a lifestyle like this, and could be a really good thing for a lot of people to make it easier too.
Yeah, sarcopenia starts as early as 30 years old. So like I work with people that are like 50. I think our oldest client is 86. The majority of them are women. And there's definitely something out there like called protein shaming. I was like, oh, why are you putting an emphasis on protein? It's like, I'm getting older, my bones are getting weaker, I'm losing muscle. Like, you're strength training now. You need to feel differently if you want that different outcome. So 100%, I'm with you on that. Tofu, tempeh, 100% can be added for extra benefits. Beans and grains and all that thing is great, but when we talk about having a caloric budget, for example, for weight loss, it does become very challenging to hit that X amount of protein on beans and grains. Like, you can do it, but you're just going to have a lot less of room for like, sweet potatoes or nuts and seeds and some of those other things, basically.
True. I also think as somebody who has dealt with IBS, which I was like actually finally diagnosed with, like I've known it all along, like, and I just have to keep my anxiety low so I can be okay. But like, as somebody who can have a sensitive gut, eating all those whole beans sometimes isn't it's not the easiest. So like, I'm a huge fan of the fava bean tofu. Have you tried that?
It's like 60 grams or something for a block. It's something
I eat
crazy.
A whole block for breakfast. It's 64 grams, right? I'm like, this is amazing. It's so good, and it's really low in fat too. It's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, it's, to be fair, in terms of macronutrient profile, way better than tempeh, way better than tofu.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Yeah. I stock up.
It's like Big Mountain Foods, I think.
Big Mountain Foods. I even contacted them to see if I could get it in bulk. I'm not joking.
Yeah, they're from BC, I think, from Vancouver in Canada. Because I've seen them at expos before. Yeah, they have some great products.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool. And so yeah, now let's talk about. We talked about the protein as some of the misconception. Is there any other potentially mistakes or misconception that you see most women have for the ones that you work with?
No, really, it is just about kind of understanding how to balance their plate. That is the most, when it comes to dietary pattern in general with a plant-based diet, just understanding how to balance the non-starchy vegetables with the starchy vegetables, and really just understanding caloric density. I think is like the main thing, and understanding that it is okay to fuel their body, and to not starve themselves in the morning. I'm a big fan, personally, I'm a big fan of having people, eat like a king in the morning and a prince at lunch, and a pauper at night, and just understanding that is fuel, and that is going to help you maintain a healthy body weight. That's going to help you lose weight and maintain a healthy body weight. And it's going to help you stay on this lifestyle. It's really, it is the caloric density that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And like healthy, sustained energy throughout the day. It's better to not eat too close to bedtime for digestion and sleep optimization. You mentioned one important component when it was about like sustainability and not doing this, this diet for a month or 4 months or 6 months, but basically doing it for a lifetime. I do feel that a lot of people hear about whole food plant-based or veganism or plant-based eating, and they're like, oh, I got 20 pounds to lose. I got to deal with this issue. Let me just go do this for 6 months or for a year. Let me give it a shot. But yeah, the reality is, no, like this is a lifetime thing. It will take you a while to get in shape and lose weight, and then it will go away so fast. Overeat for 2 weeks and stop exercising, pretty much all gone. The majority of the progression is gone.
Yeah, this is the thing. The clients that I have worked with that maintain their weight loss understand the lifestyle, understand caloric density. And unfortunately, this is something I guess I should have mentioned. One of the other major hurdles that people deal with is societal norms. I say this kind of often in my messaging. Societal norms of eating really high calorie density foods, eating really high sugary foods, eating really high saturated fat foods. It is our society that we're dealing with. I was just chatting with a client about this today. Like, her family members and friends are like, over Memorial Day weekend, they were like, just eat the cake, just have the drink. You're gonna be okay. But she's determined to reverse her health conditions. And it is very hard, these societal norms of holidays and cookouts and stuff like that derail people. So I think that's something that's really important, is to plan ahead. If you know that you want to live a healthy lifestyle and maintain it, is to plan ahead. Bring your own food if you need to, or bring enough to share with other people. You never know who you can inspire. They might be inspired to go home and make those blueberry apple muffins, later with oats and flax seeds. And to understand that as you go back out into the real world after making all of your home cooked foods, that there are ways to modify menus, to ask people at the restaurant if you can have that, without oil, or to lean in just on more simplistic foods at restaurants. Like, the societal norms out there are like crazy. So people don't want to feel left out. They don't want to feel like they're an outcast, or like they're eating weirdly for eating whole, healthy, natural foods. But that is one thing. That's another thing that gets in people's way, just the societal norms that derails them. So if they know that that's going to happen, if they know that that's going to come eventually, then being armored and prepared with healthy snacks and treats and meals keeps them going.
Yeah. And I think there's an element also of people not wanting to be like that extra person at the restaurant. That's like, hey, can you make those modifications? I think people are potentially just afraid to ask for the things that they want, because they don't want to stand out too much. I used to just tell people, like, when I first transitioned well over a decade ago, I was like, I don't want to eat this. It doesn't make me feel good. It hurts my stomach. And if someone pushed back, then it's like, well, you want me to feel terrible? Like, it's kind of an odd thing for you to want from me. But eventually, as you kind of gain ownership and you have enough, good experiences with eating this way, then you stand strong. You're like, oh, I don't eat it because I eat plant-based. And then you're able to defend yourself and stand your ground a little bit better at that point.
Yes, absolutely. And people usually start to feel so much better that they don't want to eat that food. But a lot of the times, again, the peer pressure really can stand out. But I also tell my clients too that there always has to be a leader, no matter what, in your group of friends, a group of people. There's always a leader, whether it is somebody that's trying to convince people to have the cocktails, or somebody that's convincing people to have the healthy food. There's always a leader, and they can be the leader.
Yeah, I'll say just order your food first. Like, a lot of time when you go to a restaurant, if everyone else before you orders like burgers and pizzas and whatever, and you're the last one to order in the middle, like, you're more likely to order that stuff if you're newer to the lifestyle. So I just like order your Buddha bowl first, or whatever's on the menu, and then let everyone else kind of make their decision. Because then you look silly if you're trying to go back to be like, well, no, actually, I'll get a burger instead of a Buddha bowl. So you're less likely to backtrack at that point.
Yes, for sure.
So let's talk about like some of the other work that you do with women, because in preparation for this podcast, I went to listen to some of your cooking videos with Chef AJ, the interview you did with Dr. Frank Sabatino, looked at your Instagram. You talked about, I think some of your stories today, you talked about not being afraid to be you. And I've had my own experiences with that in the past few weeks. So do you mind kind of elaborating on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have such a short life, and we really can't, it's very difficult, I will say. And I teach this because I coach women in with a beauty brand, they're on my team, and really so much of it is personal development. And we have to break free from the fear of judgment for being who we are and being on our own path to better living. Because like I said, life is just too short, and we have most of all of us, really, truly, we have a purpose to live out. And if we can just get quiet enough to lean into that and to realize our gifts that we have to share, and then to cast out the outside noise and all of the limiting beliefs that come our way. And all of that, again, fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, or like for women, not being pretty enough, or for not being skinny enough. All of these things come into our minds. And it's so sad that most of us fall for it. And these are just limiting beliefs. They're red light stories that don't even really exist, and we create them on our own. And we have to kind of just step out and take messy and perfect action. If we have something on our heart, I say do it, especially if it's going to help elevate the human existence, like sharing clean beauty. And I know that your significant other is into that too, right? Like sharing clean beauty, like not fearing that, and or sharing healthy recipes, or sharing that, hey, I'm making a lifestyle change, and I really, this is my path. Like you have to be bold in this world, otherwise you're gonna fall victim of the societal norms. And not everyone is going to, they're going to let the limiting beliefs win, but for those who don't, they make a difference. And I believe everyone out there has the potential to make a difference and to help other people. And at the same time, they can make a living helping people,
Yeah. I know everyone has it in their heart to serve.
Yeah.
It looks different for everyone. And I think people compare themselves to, for example, people like us. They're out in the public eye that can be criticized. Sometimes serving can just be like your family. It could be serving your extended family. It could be serving in your community. It doesn't have to be online for thousands of people to watch and to listen to. But I think everyone has that little something in them of like, if I didn't have to worry about money, if I didn't have to worry about people judging me, like I would do this and I would help people with that. 100% people should go for that. But understandably, it's scary because there's a fear of judgment. There's a fear of failure. And you talked about like, just remember to live because life is short. I did a digital detox for 2 weeks last week. This month.
I saw that. I was like, I'm jealous. I want to do it.
I'm now doing it the first 7 days of every month moving forward. So next week I'm gone again. But I read this book, 4,000 Weeks. Oliver Bucherman or Berkman, one of those. But it's basically how most humans have 4,000 weeks to live. And we think that we have infinite amounts of time when we're living our day to day. And we're like, I can do this project later. I can do this later. But in reality, if you're prioritizing something right now, by default, you're saying no to the thing that you should be doing or that you have in your heart to do. And time is just passing by. So just great book recommendation, 4,000 Weeks. That was a big eye opener.
That's not very many weeks.
It's not, but that's realizing that life is finite. And so if we have this limited time and being able to quantify it at 4,000 weeks, it's like, what do I want to do with myself? And they were pretty blessed to have stepped in to the position that we're in. To be fair, I know that it was very scary. I know that it's challenging. You talked about self-development earlier. Not saying everyone should be an entrepreneur, but if you want to really develop, start a business. It's the hardest thing you'll do. You'll learn the most about yourself by doing that, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And so what was that process like for you to learn to be yourself? Because from being in the public eye, it's challenging and it's very easy to contort who we are, to show up a certain way online. And so to show up authentically, which I think you're doing a great job at, is very challenging. So how do you navigate that?
I tell my team this often, and a lot of them don't believe me. I have to work on myself every day. I have to listen to self-development podcasts. I listen to the Mindset Mentor, Rob Dial. I listen to How to Grow and How to Get Out of My Own Way. And I am just a huge podcast junkie, more so than reading. I have to work on it every single day. I have to give myself a pep talk. I also have to remind myself often, my purpose and the impact that I can make. I worked with a personal coach, a business coach for 3 years. One of my friends, Steph Weber, she always said, your story matters. I think that a lot of people, they dim their light. They don't share their story. They don't, share the hard stuff. And like through all of that, for me, sharing my story of depression and anxiety and how I used to eat the way that I used to eat and all the things that I've gone through, like it's super liberating, and it helps me realize that my story matters, because the more that I'm able to share my story, it impacts other people and it actually can help them. So I really do. I hire people. I listen to things. I work on myself daily. It's something, it's just crucial, to make the impact that I want to make. And it's not like everybody's just born with full confidence. Like you have to cast away the fears all the time.
I don't think anyone is born with full confidence. Usually the people that look like they're going through some things, and that's kind of like a way to mask it. Or they've just truly worked on themselves for a long time to be able to be in that position. But I think that's a beautiful thing to share. I think a lot of the people that want to have that impact understand that it's far greater than themselves. And so they have to learn to remove themselves from their own way, and bringing in help makes a big difference. I've had a coach for over 4.5 years, 100% understand it. Trying to do that by yourself is silly, because you don't know what you don't know. So there's certain things preventing you from moving forward that you're just keep hitting yourself against the wall. Like, why is this happening? And then someone that's external goes like, hey, Stacey, did you know that you do this? You're like, nope, had no idea. Now I know. I can move it out the way and then move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I that's how I coach women too. Like, I think it's really important to have somebody in your life that can speak life into you, and help you also realize that, what you're saying is actually quite interesting, or what you have to say could really help other people. You need people to support you in that and to give you that confidence. I feel, at least I definitely need that.
For sure, because a lot of people that are trying to, eat whole food, plant-based, which goes against what society preaches, that is trying to become a better version of themselves. A lot of those people don't have a supportive community around them, or friends that are aligned with how they're trying to level up their life. And so they feel isolated. And, how many people give up on themselves because it's too isolating to try to improve themselves. Like, I'd rather just fit in with everyone else. It's way more fun and easier to navigate. So that's why, like, a coach like you having a community makes a big difference, to stay in that mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm worth it. I can get better. My life can change if I continue down that path.
And coming to the NHA conference, it's another way.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to be there at the end of June. We're going to be there together. I want to ask you one last question about your farm. Like, I'm curious what got you to go, like, to do some of this work, going to whole food, plant-based eating, to like now wanting to start a farm, because I grew up on one. It is a ton of work to have a farm. So what was that project like?
Well, I cannot give myself the credit. Okay. My husband does most of it. Let's be real. Okay. But I was planting like 80 tomato plants the day that my water broke. So there's that. But I've been down this journey. Like I said, it is such a journey of trying to optimize wellness. And that also includes like reducing toxins in, that we're exposed to on a daily basis, which is a lot. Our drinking water, our personal care products, our clothing, it's everywhere. Our food packaging, it's just everywhere, right? And then also food, like buying organic versus conventional. My husband and I started gardening like at his old house before we even lived together. And we were like, whoa, we just grew a zucchini. That was awesome. Like, it was so empowering. And we were like, this is fun. So we started growing more. And then we moved our little garden to his to his parents because they have land. And we grew and we grew and we were growing organically. And we were like, this is like, we're good at this. Like, we're figuring it out year after year. Things will die, things will thrive, and what to do and how to make it better. And we got good at it. And so I was like, let's get land, and it took us a long while. We basically like got married. I bought a Pilates studio and then we bought a farm like all at the same time. It was like way too much, but we still have our farm, and we don't live there yet, but I have it on my heart to grow what we're doing now, which is we've been selling organic produce at the farmers markets for several years now. I used to sell vegan foods like herbal iced teas and raw vegan treats, but I couldn't keep up with it. Once our son was born, like I couldn't keep up with it. And we had to make food out of our commercial kitchen for it to be allowed at the farmers market.
Yeah.
And all of these obstacles. So the next step is for me to take the recipes, the hundreds of recipes that I've created over the last several years for my clients and for online, and find some of the best ones and make food for our local community on our farm, and continue selling our produce at the market and help people get on this plant-based train, or at least get more plant-based foods into their life, because we will eventually live there. We're working on that. And so that's what we're doing on our farm. My husband works a 9 to 5. So he works at home. Luckily, he's just working upstairs. So then he goes out to the farm. Like I barely see him most of the summer, which is why you won't see him at the NHA podcast or at the NHA conference. He usually doesn't go to the conferences with me because it's just like high season,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you guys get to eat food fresh from the farm, and I'm sure living there is going to be a blast. I feel if you have land, it's probably really peaceful out there compared to living, in a city. It is
until pretty soon they're going to have development, but it's fine. It's better. It is calm, and there's a lot of birds and trees, and we have bats to keep the mosquitoes at bay. It's fun.
Yeah. That's how I grew up. We had bats hiding in a chimney outside. So they get all the mosquitoes. It was perfect.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Stacey, I appreciate you taking the time to record with me today for the NHA podcast. Just leave you the floor. Any project that you're working on, anything you'd like to mention for people to check out before we wrap it up today?
Yeah, no, I would just say, please give me a follow at the Herban Farmacy, both on my tiny little YouTube channel and then also on Instagram, or you could find me on Facebook, Stacey Heiny. We'll link a free high raw revival. So people it's just a mini video course where I'm sharing some ways to incorporate more raw whole plant living plant foods into your diet, along with all of the foods that we love, like our yummy sweet potatoes and whole grains, and just kind of leaning in on a more vibrant diet that's going to help you feel better and also help you get, a nice glow to your skin. So we'll link that below as a free offering for you, and just stay in touch. Stay along with the journey. I have some in-person events. I'm having a conference called the Modern Homemaker Conference in September 2025. So if you're anywhere in Indy or you want to travel to come to that, you can get details. We'll link that below too.
Awesome. Well, Stacey, I appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom. I look forward to seeing you at the NHA conference. And everyone, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.